So I'm doing this because I have just got two kittens. Now, they are my babies. I'm looking at one of them directly as I say this. They are my babies. Um, Little Rocky and Asmo. But just an introduction, there's a lot of things that when you tell your friends or family members that you're getting a cat, they're getting kittens, sometimes they may come up with advice, and sometimes that's very helpful advice. But sometimes the advice goes against that of professionals. I've got a lot of the things I do with my two boys. I've got a lot of advice. I've watched a lot of Jackson Galaxy, for example. So a lot of the things that I may say, I've heard Jackson Galaxy say before me. So this might not be new, and it might be a way of directing you. There's also a lot of myths people say, and there's also a lot of advice that just straight up isn't what you necessarily want to do with your cats. They're your kids, they're your kittens, they're your babies, and it's important to raise them how you want to raise them more than anything else. Your babies, Asmodeus, but I call him Asmo, and Rocky, they're absolutely amazing kittens. Things people say that are kind of myths or inaccurate things that people may say when you're raising up a kitten. I wanted to do these vlogs because I actually love my kittens and I just want to show them off to the world. They're my babies, and I love them to pieces, just more than anything else in the world. Litter trays. Now, a lot of people have told me some advice about litter trays, which is just really untrue. I mean, my babies are indoor babies. If your babies are outdoor babies, they might you might be able to get away with this, but a lot of people say for two cats, two litter trays is enough. It really is, like, it really isn't. My babies have three litter trays, and one of the myths I was told, um, one of the myths I was told was basically that cats will only use but two litter trays. They'll probably just leave the other one. They did to start with, but that's because it had a different kind of litter in it. So I've put clay in two and one with wood pellets. As soon as I changed the other one over to clay, they were straight inside it. So they use all three of their litter trays. And a lot of people, a lot of people put their litter trays all in one place. To a cat, that's not three litter trays. That's not two litter trays. That's just one big litter tray. And that is so true. My cats, I haven't had any issues of them pooping on the floor, peeing on the floor, and I've had them 2 weeks now. And I haven't had any issues. They've used their litter tray. They've been good in that aspect. I haven't got hooded ones. Another misconception that people are saying is cats like privacy, and that's right to a degree. So basically, putting the litter trays in a sense of in a place that's a busy place around the house. Obviously, they're not going to use that. But they also like to see if there's predators coming. Don't forget, these are animals. They like to see if there's predators coming. So a hooded litter tray kind of prevents them from seeing that. A lot of people will say they'll complain about the smell. But I've had no smell. I clean it quite regularly. I've really had no. So the only time that I ever smell litter is when they're pooping, and one of the litter trays is actually right behind me as we're talking. So that is the only time where their litter trays kind of can smell. But obviously, if you don't clean them regularly, if you only have one litter tray there, it's more likely to smell if you have one litter tray between two cats, or two litter trays between two cats, because there's less space. for them. And I think there's, you know, my litter trays are spaced out, if that makes sense. So I've got two in the front room, one in one corner, one in the other corner of the front room. Um, but I've also got one right by the door in the hallway. Now, I think that that's essential because, I mean, obviously, I live in an apartment, I live in a flat. It's kind of essential because, Jackson Galaxy kind of always says that a litter box is the king of all scents. And he's absolutely right. My boys have free run of this place. They have free run of this place, and that's just them. I will not change that at any point because they're my babies. You wouldn't lock your kids in one room and not allow them to roam about. So why would I do that to cats? Food wise, now, food wise, it's an interesting one. So Jackson Galaxy always says don't feed them dry food. Um, I actually feed mine. They get 3 meals a day, and this is what I do with my kittens. They get 3 meals a day. For breakfast, they have Whiskers wet food, so breakfast, and they're mixed pouches. So, like one day they'll have chicken, the next day they'll have fish or whatever. Um, and basically it works. For lunch, they have dry food. They only have dry food for lunch. That's it. They have wet food again for dinner. Again, because the pouches are mixed, it could be chicken, fish, beef, poultry. Um, they love it. They'll eat whatever I give them. Really, they're not fussy eaters. I know a lot of cats can be fussy eaters, which is absolutely fine. Um, I'm lucky that I don't have fussy cats. When I first got them, I had Felix because that was all I could find. But recently, I've changed them to Whiskers, which they've been fine with, and that's what pouches I use for my kittens. They absolutely love it. They love their wet food. Um, yeah, I've never had one that hasn't eaten. So and then obviously lunch is Whiskers dry food. Um, I don't like the idea of free feeding, but when I go to therapy, I don't have I can't. It's quite a way, and I don't have the time to come back at lunchtime and feed them their lunch. So I do free feed them, unfortunately, when I go to therapy. I did try them free feeding before I did, because what I was concerned about was obesity, or one eating, one not, or constantly eating, if that makes sense. And then we have obesity and then we have problems. That's what I was concerned about with free feeding. So the week I got them, I had a week off therapy and I bonded with them and I looked at how they were when they were free feeding. They were fine. I am going to get cameras so I can check. Obviously, I haven't got those yet, so I can just check, just check on them. I might be more interested in watching my pets than I am the the therapy, but just so I can check what what they what they get up to, really, because I think it'll be quite interesting. These two are funny. Indoors or outdoors? Now, I am not really concerned either way, realistically. When I grew up, my mum and stepdad had cats, and they were outdoor cats. They were outdoors, half out, half in kind of thing. Um, there are risks for them being outdoor cats. Um, my babies are indoor babies, mainly because I live in an apartment, but also because it's safer. One of the things that I didn't want when I got cats was for them to potentially catch. A lot of people use pesticides to kill off mice. Unfortunately, if one of my babies caught a mouse, and from what I've seen, if there's a mouse, they will get it and they will kill it. Not necessarily eat it because their toys, their toy mouse gets left on me. They like to give it to me as a present. Um, so if there's a mouse and it's had some pesticides that someone's used to get rid of pests, that cat is also poisoned. And I don't want that for my babies. I absolutely love them and they're my babies. Um, that is basically the reason. I mean, also the risk of them getting knocked down by cars. And I live basically next to a building site because where I live, it's a brand new development. So I kind of live next to a building site because they're still building some of the houses. I don't want to risk it. They're my babies. So toys. So one of the things that Jackson Galaxy always advises is play with your cat, play with your cat, play with your cat. I can't actually stress that enough. Playing with them is so important and it builds up that bond between you and them, especially with wand toys. My baby's favourite toy is their wand toy. I open their toy drawer and as soon as I open their toy drawer to get the wand out, they're straight there. They know now. They know their wand toy, and that's an important factor. They love their wand toy, and I couldn't really say much more about it. If my camera's wobbling right now, it's because there's a cat. Asmo has decided to come and say hello. Hello, my baby. So yeah, wand toys they absolutely love. I So wand toys they absolutely love. They love their individual toys as well. As I said, they've got specifically a mouse that they like to use. Their mouse is very interesting because it represents a real mouse. And here's Rocky as well. So it represents to them a real mouse in the shape of a mouse, and they play with it all the time. They play with it all the time, and they love using it. They often give it to me as a present. That's their favorite pastime. Luckily, it's a toy one, but yeah, if the camera's wobbling again, that's because the cat's. Oh, thank you, Rocky. You just made that angle a bit better. So after saying that, he actually knocked the camera over. Is what it is. But so I'm gonna end this here anyway because it's gonna be a long video. It's gonna be a long vlog, and so I'm gonna do a part 2, if that makes sense, of it. Here you see a water fountain, and I still want to talk about that. They've got a bowl and a fountain. So I want to talk about that stuff. And yeah, so I'm going to end this here. Like and subscribe, and part 2 will be here in the next couple of weeks.